We oftentimes talk about all the great things when moving to Denver. On this channel, though, we don't only cover the great. So today we're going to be talking about the obstacles when moving to Denver, Colorado.
All right, let's go. If this is your first time watching, first things first, where have you been?
Me?
Right?
Pete and Chelsea Sweeney here. We are your Colorado real estate family. What we'd like to do on this channel is be your boots on the ground experts when covering Denver and all of its surrounding cities. If you are planning on relocating to this beautiful state, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell if you want to be updated on the latest videos that we post to this channel.
Yes, and as much as we love making the videos for you, we love even more so helping with your real estate needs. So if you're looking for a licensed, the best licensed real estate agent here in Colorado, please, we're going to put our phone number down below. Call or text us. We are here for you.
All right, here we go. 6 obstacles that you might encounter when moving into Denver, Colorado. You're gonna want to stick around till later in this video because there's one that I think that you're really gonna want to know. That way you're not blindsided after moving into Denver, Colorado.
But first, let's cover the first one, which is going to be housing.
Yeah, this has been the main obstacle I feel like moving in Colorado the last 10 years. So.
I know, and not just what you think. Well, a lot of people will say when they move into Colorado that they weren't anticipating the rent costs. And so we'll get into a little bit more about that, the actual housing market, or go check out our most recent video, the cost of living 2023, because we kind of dive into it even more there.
Well, we even spoke to someone recently too, where they're like, oh, you know what, I think I'm just gonna rent for a year, and then they looked at all the rents and like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah,
so, the rent costs in Denver, Colorado are pretty insane. I know it's not LA status, but it's still pretty expensive if you're moving from like middle America or even the East Coast.
Yeah, so for 1 year, August 2021 to 2022, rent costs went up 45.7%. So you can look at a lot of different websites because, of course, I do a ton of different research on rentals, especially because I help a lot of you guys get into a rental or short-term rental before actually purchasing a house. And this kind of varies depending on the city. Denver obviously is one of the highest outside of Boulder. And so with that, it's really important to understand kind of where that cost is. So the median rent right now is $25.50. In fact, Axios rates Denver as the 9th most expensive place to rent. So is it cheap to rent in Denver? Absolutely not. Luckily, we do have surrounding cities that do have some more affordable rental options, but a lot of you guys are choosing to not do the rental beforehand because it locks you in place and we don't get to play with the market as much, but also because you're paying almost as much as your mortgage. However, there are good news that a lot of you are choosing to do short term so that you aren't stuck in a rental contract, and we're able to kind of look around different areas, get used to different areas while you're doing a short-term rental that you can bounce around. Some people even choose to do 1 month here, 1 month here, and then in 3 months we're able to lock down a house. So there are options. Don't get discouraged just because rent is high. If you have to rent, there are short-term options, especially in the Denver metro surrounding areas.
Yeah, and so guys, I mean, here's the thing, rent's high, and so obviously we're always gonna say, purchasing is the best. We're investors, we like to buy houses, we love to have assets in place, but renting, you're throwing your money away. We've encountered this so many times when talking with you guys where you're like, I think I'm gonna rent, that way I know where I wanna be. There are a few other options outside of that if you don't wanna pay those high rents, right? So say you do purchase a house, and be like, you know what, I lived in this house for a little bit, still don't like this area, I wanna kind of try this other area. Guess what, now you might possibly have an investment property. Different ways to kind of go about it because the housing market is actually super awesome right now. I think like our last probably 5 buyers that we put contracts in, we've been able to come in under list price. So this is a different story that as opposed to like this time last year. This time last year, I'm like, hurry up and get in here. You're going to be battling, 10 different buyers and everyone's going $50,000, $100,000 over. And so just something to kind of know is you're not really having that obstacle that you had last year. So is it really an obstacle for purchasing a house outside of interest rates, of course, right? But you could always refinance that interest rate, which is something that we're actually experiencing. We're purchasing another investment property and we're like, yeah, we know the interest rates are high, but I mean, we're just going to refinance out of that one.
The other thing too, just for creative financing, then we'll move on here, is there are loan options where you can buy down the rate temporarily over a couple years. So that's something that we're currently doing is trying to get a lower rate for a couple years to see if that gives us some flexibility in the interest rates and see what happens after that. Worst case scenario, it just goes at the original rate that you lock in at.
We're not buying the rate down.
Right.
We're having the seller
buys the rate down. It's actually the only option. So just know that the rate, there are creative options around that. We would rather you get in a high interest rate in a house that is the amount that it's actually valued out as versus you coming in 50,000 over and not getting the equity gains if you change your mind on the area.
Yep.
So those are just some strategy that we always look at. Rent
Yep.
is a problem. It is a obstacle here in Denver.
Yep.
Housing has its obstacles, but it might not be as risky as, say, renting.
All right, let's hop on to number 2.
And that is air pollution.
Yeah, so here's something that, I mean, I feel like it wasn't always this way. It's kind of sad because you do have those days where, you know, you see the pollution hovering over the city of Denver and everything. It's super sad to see since we're that mountain state, right? Everything you
Right.
think a mountain state would be crisp, clean air, kind of like Montana. You watch Yellowstone, you're like, that's how it's always supposed to be, right? I know Yellowstone isn't based in Colorado. I'm just saying, you think like mountain town and that's what you think. But unfortunately, that's not what it is here in Denver, Colorado. In fact, Denver is the 7th most polluted ozone pollution, according to the American Lung Association, I think is what it was. Super sad to see that stat, you know, considering that Denver is such a beautiful city in itself. Another thing I kind of want to note of that as well too is we have wildfires here, and so there's times like I think it was 2020 or 2021 where it seemed like it was a summer of wildfires, and so it was just constantly smoky, and you know people were coughing. I think you even had like an allergic reaction to the smoke that was here, and so that sucks. Soot. Sometimes you literally, if your car's parked outside, you come out and there's ashes, and so I know it's not air pollution, but at the same time, it really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think air quality is important to talk about, whether it's pollution or even, we've talked about this before, I struggle with allergies. So air as a whole is a big obstacle here. Oftentimes I will jump online, I'll look at the pollen.com and it'll tell me exactly what's in the air. So yes, we have 4 seasons, and with 4 seasons come a lot of different allergens. And so whether it's the grasses and the trees, you know, anything that's in springtime, it's going to be anything that's blooming. In the summertime, it's going to be those big grasses like ragweed, the cotton coming off of the trees. And then fall, everything is dying and everything's falling and everything's in the air. And then winter for me is clear. However, some people have mold allergies and it's a little wetter. And so we definitely have 4 seasons. The good news is it doesn't last, you know, if depending on what you're allergic to. So we do have air changes because of the temperatures, and that does help with allergies, but we do have a lot of allergens.
The third obstacle that you might encounter, which honestly blindsided us a little bit because we
did.
thought we were doing pretty good, you know, but
We were moving up in the world.
is the public transit in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, so the first time we heard about this was actually from our clients moving into Colorado.
I think they were coming from, what was it, DC or something like that?
I'm not sure, but I can't remember which one. We did help a lot of different states, in a couple different countries. But one thing that we heard from you is that we were lacking in public transit. So we felt really good because we thought we were moving up in the world because we're getting all these new lines and everything. According to US News, we're actually ranked 21st in the public transport ranking. So this doesn't just include the public transit, it actually includes like our bridges and road qualities and commute time, but also does our public transit. It's actually a huge piece in the ranking, and we're like only 21.
So with that being said, Denver is vastly grown in its public transit system. And like I said, we have the light rail station here, which is constantly growing. They're constantly building new stations. It's going a little bit slower than they anticipated initially when they started the project, but we are getting better, guys. It's just one of those things where like currently right now in Denver, unless you live right there in downtown Denver, you're gonna need a car, and the public transit isn't there. It is coming. It's something that's gonna be in the future, Joe. So it just might take a little bit more time than some of these other cities.
Yeah, I also think, just really quick, that we only rated 21 on road quality because of our seasons.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because our roads, like we just went to Florida, and Florida's roads are so nice, but they also don't get snow, and they don't have to like really keep up with the roads as far as
they
keeping
don't
the
have,
ice
like
up.
the plows
and
definitely take a
plows.
toll, and then all the chemicals they throw down the road with the ice to melt the ice. We have expanding soil here, or expansive soil here, and so with that you're constantly seeing heaves and hoes, and
So I'm gonna take that into consideration for us ranking 21.
Yep.
Okay, we are going to cover the 4th obstacle, and that is going to be water increases. So Denver has a big goal to do a $2.3 billion project over the next 10 years to increase the water supply, not only for today's residents and for its resilience and sustainability for all of its future residents. So because Denver is responsible for about 1.5 million people to get clean water, this is obviously going to be a goal that needs to be met if we're going to start seeing the growth that Denver is already starting to see.
Now, I don't know if this is something that I should say to you guys, but I'm just going to say it anyway. So when I was a kid, I remember growing up, my Aunt Terry, she lived downtown, and it was one of those things, this is kind of off topic, but at the same time it relates to water, is you'd have to let the water run for like, probably a good 10 seconds to let the stuff out of the pipes. It might be because the building was old. I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, anytime I think about Denver water, I always think about that, how you're like, okay, is the yellow gone? Is yellow gone? Okay, there you go.
Gross.
So, yeah.
If you're on Denver water and you have something to say about that, comment down below, because we want to hear, like, if that's something that you still do.
I know
with
it was an
older
old building,
buildings.
so it might have been the old pipes, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. And maybe that's something you experience in a lot of these other larger cities. So I don't know.
We haven't really lived completely in the absolute
downtown area.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, with this big change, you would think that the water will increase, but it is only going to go up about $4 per resident is what they're averaging.
Mm-hmm.
So the average bill in Denver is about $39. Yep. I looked at that in comparison to all other states, and we are still very affordable when it comes to water costs.
Yep.
So I don't think the obstacle is the pricing, but more so the infrastructure.
All the infrastructure, the construction they're going to be run to. We already have a ton of road construction right now.
Yes.
With them expanding the
Always.
highways, throwing toll lanes in and all that. So it's one of those huge obstacles that might be magnified with all these new water projects happening as well too. And so only time will tell. It just sucks with all the road construction happening. It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter if you're driving all the way down to Colorado Springs or up to Fort Collins. It seems like you're always running into that construction.
Yeah, Colorado is definitely growing, and you can feel it every time you turn a corner.
Yep. The fifth obstacle that you might encounter, which this one's pretty freaking obvious, is the snow.
More so this year than ever, though.
We were actually just talking about this, like, driving the other day. We're like, God, our clients probably hate us because we're
Right.
like, Colorado's winters are mild, and then this winter comes and we're like, holy crap, it's freaking cold out. And
I know,
our
this is
clients
not
are probably
normal.
like, the Colorado real estate family lied to us. Like, guys, this isn't normal. We went to
normal.
Florida and it was cold there too, okay?
I know, even my sister, she lives in Florida right now, and she goes, oh my gosh, Chelsea, I think you're bringing the cold every time you visit. And I said, no, it's like this everywhere. So yes, it is colder than normal.
Yep.
We are seeing not more snow necessarily, but
No,
it's
we're
not
seeing quite a bit of
clearing.
snow.
But it's also not clearing.
Yeah, our roads are like constantly covered in snow and ice right now.
Big obstacle, especially if you're not used to the snow. But with the snow comes a lot of other obstacles. So it's kind of destroying our roads. We talked about that a little bit because you're having to keep up
Between
with
all the
it.
chemicals and the plowing and all that
And
stuff that kind of goes
the
into that.
salts and the gravel.
Yep.
It is driving in the snow, especially with a lot of people moving into Colorado. Colorado had a ton of people moving here. And with that, a lot of them are coming from places that don't have snow.
So they're not familiar with driving in the snow.
So as
and
much as I love you guys here, you got to take some classes because we're all just out there like, what is going on here? I've never seen so many kind of drivers that are getting used to our winter.
And just kind of give a quick note in there. So Georgetown actually has it's like an ice driving class for driving in the snow and ice. So if there's a class that you do want to take because you're not familiar with driving in the snow, check out Georgetown. They do a class up there. I'm not sure if anyone else does it. That's the only one I know of.
If you see Peter on the road and he's peeling out and doing like, that's how
I'm that guy.
fifth
I'm
generation
that guy.
native people drive in the snow.
They're seriously, they're like, what's this guy doing? He's going way too fast. I'm like, you're going way too slow.
Peter just likes to go to the grocery store when it snows out, and the only reason is because I know he wants to play in the snow.
Oh, whatever.
Okay, some of the other thing is garages. We were talking about Florida and how not everyone has a garage, but they don't need a garage.
Yeah.
In worst case scenario, it
Rainy season.
rains on them. And with us, I mean, you're gonna have to scrape the windshield. If you don't have a scraper, you're gonna have to sit in the car for a while and put on the heat until it all melts off of.
I'm just telling you right now, there is nothing worse than not having a garage in Colorado.
Yes.
We've experienced it in our younger ages, and you're like, I got to go out there 30 minutes early before I leave because I got to scrape the car, got to warm it up, and it's horrible.
And also, you would think that I'm not from here because I'll like forget my scraper. And you're sitting there and you're, oh God, here goes the sleeve. And you're just trying to like get the all off. Oh, it's just bad. You have to have a scraper, okay, when you move here.
Another thing too is, and we've talked about this multiple times. In fact, there's a few of you that we've helped purchase a house. You're like, do not give me a north-facing house.
Right,
And
they
so-
listened.
They listened. Yes, glad you did your homework.
Yes.
Listen to us, I guess. I don't know, but the north-facing house thing is a thing. Like I said, our neighbor Dave.
Poor Dave.
Yeah, it's every single time I walk out there. If there's sun in the afternoon after we had a slight little snow. That's what I was like, oh yeah, my driveway's nice and clear. My sidewalk Dave's over there like kind of
is just-
cussing under his breath. I'm
Yes.
like, hey Dave, sorry bud.
On one side of the street, it's summer. On the other side of the street, it's winter.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll throw in a video. Okay, this is my neighborhood, and this is the difference between a north-facing and a south-facing house. Let me show you over here. So, if you are wanting to shovel more, definitely should go with a north-facing house. because it looks like it's 2 different seasons in my neighborhood. And the other thing is insurance. Because of the snow, we have more accidents during the winter time. We have the gravel kicking up and ruining your windshields.
Yeah.
We have, I mean, gosh, all kinds of different things that actually end up equating to an increase in insurance premiums and or additional coverages.
Yep.
You know, so you put bras on the front of your car, like the clear, what is it? It's like a protective.
Clear bra, yeah, just a clear bra.
Anyways, all these different things that we do to prep and keep our cars nice because of all the different snow problems.
Yep.
And the 6th obstacle that we're going to cover is going to probably surprise you, but we have 300 days of sunshine here in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, and you're probably thinking, it's like, man, that's a great thing. It's sunshine and all this stuff or whatever, but there are definitely some cons to having that much sunshine in this state.
Now, Peter can't speak to this because he's Italian and he has beautiful skin.
Yep.
But
got that Mediterranean skin.
for us freckly redheads out there, I'm not as red as, they're like, you're a redhead? I was like, I dye things. But anyways, us redhead or us like Irish people who burn in the sun, we have 50% stronger UV rays here in Colorado because of our altitude.
Yeah, and so what it is essentially, they say that like pretty much for every 1,000 feet up you go from sea level, the UV rays are 10% stronger. And so we just kind of threw that numbers out there, 50% because we are the Mile High City, 5,280 feet above sea level. And so 50%, and you definitely have, I mean, I've met guys who are here from California who are at sea level, and like, I have never worn my sunglasses as much as I've worn them here. The UV rays are insane.
Yeah.
My eyes are just constantly like going like this all the time. You got the constant put on the sunblock and all the good. I mean, our kids, like, we have one kid who's like me, where he had the similar skin, but we have another kid every 5 minutes just sitting there lathering her up, and it's a thing. When you have that much sunshine, you need to make sure you're protected. And I'm sure I should probably be protected more. If I went to like a dermatologist, they're probably like, I don't care that you don't burn. You need to make sure you protect your skin because the UV rays are strong here.
Okay, we just covered 6 different obstacles when moving into Denver, Colorado.
Yep.
If you live here and you're watching and there's other obstacles we didn't cover, please comment down below. If you are moving into Colorado, also comment down below your questions. Some of us locals can sit here and try to answer some of those things so that you can prepare for the obstacles when moving here to Colorado.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing a house in the state of Colorado, I guess house, condo, townhouse, doesn't matter any of those, go ahead and give us a call, text on that phone number right below, right there. Give us a call. Doesn't matter day or time. We are there to answer. And until next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.